Men aren't afraid of loving the wrong woman. They're afraid of not realizing it until they've lost all their energy, their direction, their confidence, and worst of all, themselves. Here's a brutal truth most people are too scared to say out loud. The wrong woman can destroy your life faster than any financial disaster or career collapse. And the worst part? She doesn't even have to mean to. All it takes is your failure to see the signs early, and you'll slowly spiral in the illusion called, "If I just try harder, it'll get better." This video isn't about tearing women down. It's about waking men up. Men who are loving blindly, sacrificing themselves for nothing, turning into victims without even knowing it. Watch this video through to the end, because if you can recognize even one of these 10 types of women, you just might save yourself from a lifetime of quiet misery. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and like if you're new here. It helps me keep bringing you more valuable content. There's a type of woman every sharp man should watch out for. The kind who's the victim in every single story of her life. In her version of the world, her ex was an asshole, her parents were controlling, her boss is selfish, her friends are all backstabbers. And when your turn comes, because it will, if you don't cater to her every emotional whim, you'll be branded as just another man who hurt her. The trap is, in the beginning, you feel sorry for her. You want to be the exception, the one who helps her heal, the solid man she's never had. But eventually, you'll realize you're not in love. You're playing therapist. You're carrying the emotional baggage of someone who has no intention of standing on her own. This is a woman who feeds on pain. She repeats it, cultivates it, and uses it to control the world around her. Push back? She cries. Need space? She blows up. You don't care about me. She doesn't communicate. She manipulates. She doesn't build. She destroys. And the moment you start feeling guilty just for taking care of yourself, you've already lost your grip. She doesn't want solutions. Because if the problems go away, her victim role disappears with them. And if she's no longer the victim, she has to grow up, take responsibility, and change. Things she has no interest in doing. So every negative feeling, every minor drama gets amplified tenfold just to keep her thrown as the one who's always been hurt. You'll start feeling exhausted. You'll find yourself tiptoeing around everything you say and do. A light joke becomes, "You don't respect me." One day of focusing on work turns into, "You're abandoning me." Slowly, you'll lose your freedom, your drive, and worst of all, your trust in yourself. If this sounds familiar, stop and ask yourself, am I with a woman, or am I feeding a bottomless emotional pit? Don't kid yourself into thinking you can fix her. You can't fix someone who enjoys being broken. You can't save someone who doesn't think they need saving, just someone to blame. The only move here is to step back. Observe. Don't fall into the reflex of, I have to rescue her. Let her prove she wants to change. And if you see no sign of growth, no sign of maturity, you already know what you need to do. Not every fragile soul deserves to be saved, especially when their fragility has become the cage that traps you. Walking away doesn't make you heartless. It makes you a man who understands life isn't meant to be spent carrying someone else's endless script of suffering. You deserve a woman who takes ownership of her own emotions. And you need the clarity to know this. Pity is not love. It's a knife that stabs you in reverse, slow, silent, and deadly. There's a type of woman you should never tie yourself to, the one who lives for attention. She doesn't care about peace, she doesn't care about building something real, and she definitely doesn't care about the truth. What she needs is the spotlight, the crowd, anyone, someone constantly looking at her, talking about her, validating her. And if you're not doing it, she'll find someone who will. From the way she dresses, always overly sexual, not because it's her style, but because she wants eyes on her. From the way she takes photos, over-the-top poses, seductive expressions, captions filled with vague emotional bait. From the way she acts on social media, posting sad stories, dramatic selfies, deep quotes meant to get people wondering. It all serves one purpose: make sure people are watching. She doesn't feel like she exists unless someone's looking. She doesn't know who she is unless the crowd is reacting. And that puts you, her boyfriend, on the sidelines. You're not the center. You're the backdrop. The longer you stay, the more you'll feel like you're competing with the entire internet. You'll find yourself fighting nameless guys dropping compliments in her DMs. You'll have to swallow your pride when she posts revealing photos just to feel confident. You'll be told it's harmless attention, but you know exactly what it is. And it wears you down. Badly. Worse, she doesn't just want attention. She's addicted to it. And when it's an addiction, there's no such thing as enough. Today, she needs 10 compliments. Tomorrow, it's 100. If you stop feeding the addiction, she'll say you've grown cold, distant, uncaring, even if you've given her everything. This isn't a relationship. It's an unspoken contract. You supply the attention, and she gives you the illusion of love. The moment you stop, the contract ends. And trust me, she'll replace you fast with the next guy who knows how to stroke her ego. If you feel like you constantly have to earn the attention of the woman you love, you're not in love. You're in a competition. You're stuck in a game where the prize is someone who always wants to stand on a pedestal above you. Real love doesn't need a spotlight. It needs honesty. It needs two people who can sit together in the dark and still see each other clearly. But if the woman you're with only comes alive when people are watching, then when the lights go out, she'll be gone. And you'll be left alone, drained, humiliated, and empty. Sounds old-fashioned, outdated? Go ahead and laugh if you want, but hear this through. A woman who has zero respect for her father, no matter who he is almost guaranteed to bring that same lack of respect into every relationship with a man, including the one she has with you. Respect here doesn't mean blind obedience, endless affection, or some fantasy of idolizing him. No, everyone's allowed to have issues with their dad, but what matters is how she talks about him. If every word out of her mouth about her father is dripping with contempt, bitterness, blame, and that all too familiar attitude of, "I don't need any man in my life," you better pay attention. A woman carrying deep hostility toward the father figure in her life usually falls into one of two extremes, both of which are relationship disasters. First, she might flat out distrust men. Every promise you make is questioned. Every kind act you do is viewed with suspicion. The more you try to prove you're not one of those bad guys, the more she resists. Because in her mind, men are a species to be controlled, kept at arm's length, or used. And no matter how genuine your love is, you're still just another version of what she's always hated. The second type, she turns you into her ideal father figure to compensate for what she never had. You'll be expected to always be strong, always be patient, always carry her emotional weight. And when you mess up, you won't just apologize for what you did. You'll be apologizing for everything her father ever put her through. She uses you to heal, but it's a healing that drains you dry, piece by piece. A wise man doesn't judge a woman for her issues with her father, but he pays close attention to how she speaks about him. If she says he made mistakes, that he fell short, but still expresses some empathy, some understanding, then you're dealing with a woman who's grown from her pain. But if every mention of her father is an angry rant, a rehearsed victim monologue, then understand this: you're not her boyfriend. You're just the next target for her unresolved rage. Men aren't put on this earth to be emotional scapegoats for someone else's childhood trauma. You're not her therapy. You're not obligated to carry the weight of someone else's broken past. You were born to build, not to patch up damage you didn't cause. Love can't survive if one person is constantly treated as guilty simply for being the same gender as the one who hurt me. If that's the relationship you're in, ask yourself, are you loving a woman or playing the role of a shadow she's cast on you? The line between love and emotional dysfunction is razor thin, and if you're not clear-headed, you'll be the one who pays the price. This isn't just a video, this is the reminder you needed today. Hit subscribe and like if you want someone in your corner, pushing you to live by your real values. She doesn't have to shout it in your face. She doesn't need to say, your job means nothing. All it takes is that blank stare when you talk about the project you're working on. that dismissive shrug when you mention a small win at your company, that perfectly timed jab, "So when are you buying a house?" right when you're barely keeping up with loan payments. That's all it takes. She's not insulting you. She's belittling you, subtly, gracefully, with just enough polish to pass as concern. Some women don't need you to be rich, but they need you to get rich fast. They don't need you to be successful, but you'd better succeed in a way that impresses others. They're not in love with you, they're in love with your social value. They don't love what you're building, they love the results they can show off. When you're starting from nothing, they don't see it as a beginning, they see it as being behind. When you're grinding 16 hours a day, they don't call it hustle. They say you're out of balance. When you say, "I just need more time," they hear, "You're a loser." And to her, you're just a placeholder, until someone with deeper pockets, a nicer car, and a louder reputation shows up. She doesn't need you to be a billionaire, but she needs you to make her look good in front of others. And if you can't, she'll slowly make you feel like you're not enough. The compliments fade, the comparisons begin. Look at Hung's boyfriend, 2 years in and already owns a company. You've kind of been stuck these past few months, haven't you? Have you ever thought about switching fields? Because this isn't really working. Sound familiar? If you're nodding, it's time to ask yourself, are you building a future for both of you? Or are you just exhausting yourself trying to prove your worth to someone who'll never be satisfied? Real love isn't based on money, but it can't survive without respect. A woman who's worth it will see your potential, walk beside you, push you forward, but she'll never degrade you just because you're not where she wants you to be yet. And if she disrespects your work sooner or later, she'll disrespect you. Because your career isn't separate from who you are. It's the imprint of your ambition, the blueprint of your will, the evidence of your responsibility. If she can't respect that, she can't respect you. You don't need a woman who makes you feel smaller every day. You need one who looks at you in your lowest moment and still believes you'll rise. But if she's just standing there, arms crossed, judging you for having dirt on your boots, you need to understand something. That's not love. That's an interview you failed the moment you walked in. Not every manipulator screams. Sometimes, all it takes is a perfectly timed sigh, a cold stare across the dinner table, a heavy silence the moment you walk into the room, and suddenly you're quiet, you shrink, and you start questioning yourself. This is the kind of woman who doesn't care about power. She craves control. And her weapon isn't reason. It's not honest communication. It's emotion. More specifically, calculated emotional chaos. Disagree with her? She cries. Go out with your friends? She goes cold and distant. Tell her no? She goes silent for a full day. There's never a real argument because that would require logic, and logic isn't her battlefield. She doesn't need to win with facts. She wins by making you feel guilty. At first you think, she's just sensitive. Then you start wondering, maybe I'm being insensitive. Eventually you start censoring your words, shrinking your needs, adjusting your behavior just to keep her happy. And by the time you realize what's happening, you're no longer yourself. This kind of control is dangerous because it's subtle. It doesn't come with loud fights. It comes with a long, quiet pattern of you backing down, giving in, silencing yourself just to keep the peace. Every time she's upset, you have to fix it. Every time you do something for yourself, she makes you feel selfish. It's a relationship where love gets twisted into obedience. If you don't understand her, if you're not sensitive enough to read her feelings without her saying a word, then you are the problem. It's not about what's right or wrong. It's about how she feels. And if she's sad, it must be your fault. Even worse, women like this are usually masters at appearing fragile to everyone else. To outsiders, she's the soft, sweet, emotionally delicate soul who just needs love. But behind closed doors, she's the one controlling your every step, every breath, every decision with that same emotional fragility. And men fall into this trap easily because we're taught to protect, to be patient, to be the bigger man. But you weren't born to be someone's emotional punching bag. Love is not a daily psychological guessing game where your job is to figure out if she needs silence or comfort, just to avoid another emotional ambush. So what's the move? Stop chasing her moods. Start watching her actions, not her tears. Ask yourself, am I still myself in this relationship? If the answer is no, it's time to get up and walk away. You're not cruel. You're just reclaiming your life. A worthy woman doesn't need manipulation to be loved. She loves with maturity. But if the only tools she knows are guilt and emotional storms, that's not love. That's an emotional prison, and you're the volunteer inmate. Bright red flag. The moment a woman starts talking about her ex with a mix of venom, contempt, indifference, and underlying rage, you need to understand something. You're listening to your own future being scripted in advance. Don't confuse sharing with blaming. A mature woman can talk about her past calmly, even with some pain, but not with bitterness. But if every story circles back to he was toxic, he was a liar, he was a narcissist, and not once does she reflect on what she learned or how she grew, congrats. You're not dating a woman, you're walking into an emotional loop that's still unresolved. Why is this serious? Because it shows she never took responsibility for her part in the relationship. If her ex was a monster, then she once loved a monster. And what does that say about her choices, her awareness? No one forced her to stay. But instead of asking herself, why did I remain in that for so long? She builds a narrative where she's the perfect victim. The bad guy is always someone else. She's just the poor soul who needs more love. You come in thinking, I'll be different. You treat her like a queen because she's been through so much. You love her kindly, honestly, with full accountability, and one day, after just one disagreement, you find yourself slowly being cast into the exact role her ex once played. Not because you're like him, but because she never let go of that emotional residue, and now she needs a new target to dump it on. Worse, this kind of woman often uses trashing her ex as a way to control the current relationship. She wants you to know, don't hurt me like he did, and that becomes the leash. Now you're constantly performing, not being loved for who you are, but because you haven't messed up yet. But here's the catch. Sooner or later, you will, because you're human. And when that happens, she'll flip the script. You're just like him. The fix? Pay attention. If the woman you're dating can't mention her ex without poison in her voice, it means she hasn't left that past behind. And you can't build a future on a pile of emotional rubble no one's cleaned up. You can empathize, you can listen, but don't let yourself become the next character in her endless blame saga. A grown woman doesn't erase what happened. She learns from it, owns it, and moves forward. A woman who hasn't healed, no matter how much she loves you, will still drag you into the same emotional pit she never climbed out of. Most people quit before they ever learn the biggest lesson. But if you're still watching, I know you're different. Hit subscribe, like, and let's go all the way together. This is a sign most men overlook until it's too late. A woman who doesn't have a single close female friend, who never has a kind word to say about other women, who constantly criticizes, mocks, or throws shade the moment another woman walks into the room, that's a red flag soaked in gasoline. She doesn't hate other women because they've wronged her. She hates them because they exist, as a mirror reflecting back her own insecurity. Soon, you'll start noticing her world is filled with sluts, attention seekers, plastic-faced bimbos, and two-faced fakes. Sound familiar? Sounds like harmless gossip? Don't kid yourself. The more someone tears others down to lift themselves up, the clearer it is they've got nothing solid inside to stand on. Here's the problem. If she doesn't respect other women, she doesn't respect her own femininity either. And the fallout? She'll never be emotionally secure enough for you to feel at peace. Because her envy, her shame, and her blind competition won't just stay aimed at other women. They'll land squarely on you. You'll start avoiding any mention of your female coworkers. You'll think twice before liking a harmless photo on social media. You'll find yourself apologizing just for glancing at someone on the street. Every woman in your orbit, your sister, a childhood friend, even a stranger, will be viewed as a threat. She won't be fighting for your love. She'll be fighting to erase any comparison. Not because she loves you that deeply, but because the idea of another woman being better than her is unbearable, and that insecurity is lethal. The solution? Don't get involved. You can't fix this kind of woman. You can't explain it better. This isn't a misunderstanding, it's a character wound, and you don't have enough bandages to patch it up. Pay attention to how she talks about other women when she's not playing nice. If all you hear is bitterness, jealousy, and venom, understand that eventually that same venom will be aimed at you. A strong woman doesn't need to tear others down to feel worthy. A woman worth your time respects both men and women because she respects herself. But if every other woman is an enemy in her eyes, then trust me, the last thing you need is an enemy living under your own roof. A woman without a sense of purpose isn't harmless. In fact, she might be the most quietly dangerous threat to your future. She wakes up every morning with no idea what she's working toward. She lives off short-term emotions, pulled around by trends, friend groups, whatever's hot at the moment. This week she wants to bake. Next week she wants to open a clothing shop. Next month, I'm trying to find myself. The problem isn't the change. It's the endless drift. Everything she does is a reaction, not a decision. She floats like a rudderless boat, carried by the current with no clue where it's going. Sounds romantic until you're the one drowning beside her. In a relationship, she starts using you to fill the void. With no personal direction, her life begins to orbit around you, and before long, you become her emotional anchor, her motivation, her reason for existing. You are now responsible for her happiness. That's a burden you never asked for, and one you can't carry forever. You'll be worn down by constant questions like, "Do you still love me?" every time she feels empty. You'll get sucked into emotional spirals triggered not by any real crisis, but by her lack of clarity. She'll demand you make her feel special, important, not abandoned, yet never once ask herself if she's becoming someone worth being with. Worse, once you start focusing on your career, she'll grow resentful of your progress. She's doing nothing, but she can't stand to see you do more, because your direction makes her feel small. And instead of rising with you, she'll pull you down through guilt, insecurity, emotional sabotage. You've changed. You don't care like before. Is it because I'm not as successful that you're losing interest? You'll think it's love. It's not. It's jealousy dressed as emotional need. A woman without purpose doesn't want a relationship. She wants an escape hatch. But what she's really doing is using you as a life raft to avoid facing herself. The fix? Watch her. Don't just listen. Anyone can say, "I'm figuring it out." But if 6 months, a year passes, and there's no clear step forward, no real effort, then she's not searching. She's hiding. You can't build a future with someone who doesn't know what kind of future they even want. And no, love isn't enough to make someone grow if they're not willing to do the work. Love doesn't replace purpose. And a real man doesn't waste his prime years next to someone waiting for a miracle while refusing to move. It sounds trendy, even admirable. A woman says she's healing, finding herself, not ready to love fully just yet. Sounds deep, mature, and deserving of empathy. But you better stay sharp, because that line can also be the perfect excuse for dodging emotional responsibility and delaying adulthood. If she says that in the first week after a breakup, fine. Everyone deserves space to recover after a hard hit. But if it's been 6 months, a year, and she's still clinging to, "I'm still hurt, I need more time, I'm not ready to go all in," while continuing to accept your affection, attention, time, and energy, you're not dating a woman. You're pouring your soul into a project that will never be finished. Here's the thing. Healing isn't a permanent state. It's a phase, a process meant to face your past, process it, and move forward. But some people wear it like armor, to avoid real vulnerability, to dodge true connection, and to keep you at arm's length. They want you close, but not too close. They crave your love, but offer no accountability in return. They trap you in limbo, just close enough to give you hope, but never enough to give you certainty. You'll find yourself waiting for her to get through it, waiting for her to be ready, waiting for the day she finally loves you completely. But the truth is, you don't even know what she's healing from. And deep down, You suspect maybe she doesn't want to heal at all. Because as long as she stays wounded, she doesn't have to commit, doesn't have to risk, and always gets to play the role that invites sympathy but avoids responsibility. Worse, you'll get stuck playing the savior. You'll try to be patient, kind, careful, hoping that one day she'll be healed and finally choose you. But that day never comes. Because if she truly wanted healing, she'd already be moving, not standing still while you do all the emotional heavy lifting. The fix? Get clear. You can walk beside someone through their dark season, but you can't carry them forever. Ask her honestly, do you actually want to move forward, or have you gotten comfortable living in your wounds? If her answer is vague, defensive, or evasive, you've got your answer. Men weren't born to be emotional medicine for someone else's unresolved damage. You're a person, not a therapy session. And love, without commitment, is just a one-sided relationship where you keep walking forward while she stands still, clinging to the excuse, I just need more time. She tells you to listen more, be less reactive, be more open, show more affection, make more money, get in better shape, dress better, speak more tactfully, say I love you more often at the right time in the exact tone she likes to hear. And you, if you're a man with even a shred of pride and a genuine desire to make the relationship work, start changing, little by little, one habit at a time. One reaction, one behavior, one part of you gets sanded down to fit the mold of who she wants you to be. But then, you stop for a second and ask, what about her? And you realize, she hasn't changed at all. She still nags, but calls it caring. Still acts irrational, but says it's because she's sensitive. Still spends recklessly, but brushes it off with, I'm a woman, come on. She's glued to her phone, but freaks out if you reply 15 minutes late. Every flaw, every double standard, every red flag, she's got an excuse for. But you're expected to adapt, period. This is the type of woman who sees you as a fixer-upper project, not a partner. She comes into the relationship like a designer, not a teammate. You're raw material to be polished. And if you refuse to become her ideal version of a man, she'll punish you with disappointment, withdrawal, comparison, and eventually blame you for why the relationship isn't working. Worse, she'll wrap it all in a pretty package. We need to grow together. But in reality, only you are changing. Only you are carrying the imbalance. And if you push back, you'll get hit with the classic guilt trip. So you don't love me enough to change? This is not growth, this is control dressed up as self-improvement. It's manipulation disguised as building a future. But there's no we here. There's just one person giving, one person taking, one bending, one demanding. The solution? Be honest. Ask yourself, is this growth making you stronger, or is it stripping away who you are? Ask, am I still me? Because if you have to trade your core values, your identity, or your basic joy just to keep her around, you've already lost. Lost a game you never should have played. A woman who truly loves you grows with you. She reflects, not dictates. She encourages, not controls. She gives feedback, not ultimatums. If she only loves you after you've morphed into what she wants, then that's not love. That's a personal project wrapped in emotion. And you weren't born to be someone's final product. Thank you for being here. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video. Don't forget to leave a comment so we can spread positivity together.